The noise surrounding the American airstrikes in northwest Nigeria has just reached a deafening level, and a very familiar voice has risen above the chaos to issue a stern warning to President Bola Tinubu. Just when we thought the biggest news was the confirmation of the U.S. military presence, Sheikh Gumi, the controversial Islamic cleric based in Kaduna, has come out swinging. He is not mincing words, he is not asking for clarification, he is demanding an immediate halt. The headline you saw is exactly what is happening. Sheikh Gumi is telling the federal government to stop the U.S. military intervention now. And his reasons? They are deep, they are provocative, and they are bound to set the entire country talking. In a statement released just today, Friday, December 26, 2025, on his official Facebook page, Sheikh Gumi laid out a blistering critique of the Tinubu administration's decision to allow American jets to bomb targets on Nigerian soil. Now, you have to understand the weight of this. Gumi is a man who has been in the thick of the banditry crisis for years, often going into the forest to meet with these armed groups when no one else would. So when he speaks on security in the north, people listen. Some with anger, some with agreement, but everyone listens. And today, he is warning that inviting the United States into our backyard is a mistake that could haunt Nigeria for generations. Gumi's argument is built on a very interesting moral foundation. He starts by clarifying that Islam essentially permits the fight against terrorism. He's not saying terrorism should be tolerated. However, he introduces a concept he calls clean hands. He argues that if you are going to fight evil, the hands doing the fighting must be clean. And in Gumi's view, the United States does not have clean hands. He explicitly stated that the US lacks the moral authority to lead such efforts because of its global military record. He is essentially saying that you cannot use what he considers a terrorist nation to fight terrorists. He insists that terrorists do not truly fight terrorists, suggesting that the US intervention is a drama with ulterior motives hidden behind the scenes. This is where the story gets really complicated and frankly quite scary. Gumi is warning that by allowing Nigeria to become a theater of war for the United States, we are inadvertently painting a target on our backs. His logic is that wherever the US military goes, their enemies follow. He fears that this intervention will attract anti-American forces from all over the world to come to Nigeria. Instead of just fighting local bandits or the Lakurawa group, we might suddenly find ourselves dealing with global jihadist groups who want to fight the Americans. He is saying we are importing a global war into our local forests. Imagine if Nigeria becomes the new battleground for a proxy war between world powers and global terror networks. That is the nightmare Gumi is painting. I want to pause here for a second because this touches on something very sensitive. Do you think Gumi has a point? Does bringing in a superpower like the US solve our problems, or does it just invite bigger problems? It's a tough question. If you're enjoying this breakdown of the unfolding drama and want to keep getting the real gist without the noise, please smash that like button right now. It really helps us grow. And if you're not subscribed yet, please click that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss the next update on this story. Now, let's look at the religious angle, because this is perhaps the most dangerous part of the entire situation. Remember that President Trump explicitly mentioned that the strikes were to stop the slaughter of Christians. Sheikh Gumi picked up on this immediately. He cautioned that US involvement, especially when it is framed as protecting Christians, could polarize Nigeria along religious lines. We all know how fragile our unity can be. If the war on terror is seen as a Christian superpower coming to fight Muslim bandits, it changes the narrative on the ground. It stops being about crime and law enforcement, and it starts looking like a religious crusade. Gumi is warning that this perception could fuel more radicalization, making the terrorists' recruitment work much easier. He is telling Tinubu that this move could tear the fabric of the nation apart. But Gumi didn't just complain. he offered what he thinks is the solution. He argued that airstrikes alone, no matter how precise or high-tech they are, cannot defeat terrorism. This is a point that many security experts actually agree with. You can bomb a camp, but you cannot bomb an ideology. He stressed that effective counter-terrorism requires strong ground operations. And here's the kicker. He believes Nigeria already has enough personnel to do the job if they are properly organized. He's questioning why we need foreigners when we have a massive army of our own. He believes the issue isn't capacity, but organization and will. Interestingly, he suggested alternative partners. He said if Nigeria wants military assistance, China, Turkey, and Pakistan can do the job effectively. Why these countries? Well, politically, they are seen as less Western and perhaps more palatable to the sentiments in the north. Turkey and Pakistan in particular are Islamic nations with strong militaries. Gumi seems to be suggesting that if we must have help, let it come from nations that won't carry the same baggage or religious tension that the US brings. He calls the decision to align with the US a mistake and insists that no nation should allow its neighbors to be their enemies. The timing of this statement is critical. It comes just hours after the Ministry of Foreign Affairs confirmed the structured security cooperation with the US. So we have the government saying this is a partnership to keep you safe, and we have a prominent cleric saying this is a trap that will destroy us. The Nigerian public is now caught in the middle of these two very different narratives. On one hand, people are tired of the killings. They are tired of the kidnappings. If the US can come in and wipe out the terrorists, many people, especially the victims, don't care about the geopolitics. They just want peace. They want to be able to travel the roads without fear. But, on the other hand, Gumi's warning about sovereignty resonates with many who are suspicious of Western motives. History has shown that when foreign powers enter a conflict, they don't leave easily. Look at what happened in other countries where foreign interventions dragged on for decades. Gumi is essentially asking, do we want to become the next Afghanistan? It's a chilling question. He argues that airstrikes often result in civilian casualties, something the government promised to avoid, but Gumi claims is inevitable in these kinds of operations. The mention of ulterior motives is also classic Gumi. He's hinting that the US isn't just here out of the goodness of their hearts. Is it about resources? Is it about strategic positioning in West Africa? Gumi doesn't spell it out, but he plants the seed of doubt. He wants Nigerians to question the official story. He wants us to look beyond the Merry Christmas messages and the talk of precision hits and ask what the real cost of this assistance will be. President Tinubu is now in a very tight spot. He has committed to this partnership. The jets have already flown. The bombs have dropped. He cannot easily back down now without offending the US and looking weak. But he also cannot ignore the voices like Gumi's, which represent a significant constituency in the north. If he ignores these warnings and the situation escalates, if the anti-US forces Gumi predict actually show up, then the president will take the blame. It's a high-stakes gamble. We also have to consider the military's perspective. Our troops have been fighting this battle for a decade. They are exhausted. They are overstretched. For them, maybe the US assistance is a welcome relief. Maybe having real-time intelligence and air support means fewer soldiers die in ambushes. But Gumi dismisses this, insisting we have the men, just not the organization. It's a direct critique of the military leadership as well. So, where do we go from here? The line has been drawn. The government is moving full steam ahead with the US alliance. Sheikh Gumi and likely others who share his view are mobilizing public opinion against it. The coming days will be crucial. Will we see protests? Will we see a backlash from the bandit groups themselves trying to prove Gumi right? Or will the US strikes be so effective that Gumi's warnings are forgotten in the celebration of victory? This is the story of a nation trying to find its way out of darkness, but arguing about who holds the torch. It's a story of sovereignty versus security. And as we watch this drama unfold, we must remain vigilant. We must look at the facts, listen to the arguments, and decide what kind of future we want for Nigeria. Thank you for tuning in to this in-depth analysis. It's a heavy topic, but it's one we cannot afford to ignore. If you found this breakdown helpful in understanding the different sides of the story, please do me a massive favor and hit that like button. It really helps us grow. And if you're not subscribed yet, please click that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss the next update on this story. Leave a comment below. Do you stand with the government's decision to bring in the US, or do you stand with Sheikh Gumi's warning to stop it now? I will be reading your comments. Until next time, stay safe, stay informed, and keep watching.